class. Today we are going to learn to measure items to the nearest quarter inch. So first, before we get to the bottom of this slide, we're going to talk about measuring length. So what is length? Well, length is how long something is. So if I ask you to measure the length of your pencil, I'm asking you not how heavy is it, not what does it feel like, but I'm asking you to measure how long it is. And one of the tools that we use to measure length is a ruler. So you'll notice in the title it says measure to the nearest quarter inch. So let's review that vocabulary. When we're talking about quarters in relation to measurement, 1/4 means 1/4. Okay, it's not a quarter like money. It's a quarter, means 1/4. So that's the fractional equivalent. 2/4 is the same as 2/4, which, as you'll see in just a moment, is also equal to 1/2. And then 3/4 would be written and read as 3/4. We say quarter because it's a quick way to say it, but it means the same thing. So let's review real quick fractions on a number line because a ruler is essentially a number line. And look at this number line here at the top. 0 to 1 is our unit. So let's see how many equal parts there are. 1, 2 equal parts. That means this number line is divided into halves. So if we were going to label this number line, I'll grab my pen here. This would be 0. This would be 1/2. And this would be 1 or 2/2, but we'll just call it 1. Now take a look at this number line down here. I'm going to change my color. This number line also has a unit of 0 to 1. In fact, all number lines, the unit is 0 to 1, or the difference, the distance between the two whole numbers. So this number line is divided into 1, 2, 3, 4 equal parts. So we would say this number line is divided into fourths, or we could say quarters, because quarters are fourths. So this is 0, 0/4. This would be labeled as 1/4. This would be labeled as 2/4. This is 3/4, and then 1 whole, or 4/4. Now take a look at these two number lines. Remember what we learned about equivalent fractions. Fractions that are the same or the same distance from 0. What fractions do you see here that are the same distance from 0? You're right, it's these two here. 1/2 and 2/4 is the same. They are equivalent fractions. So when you're measuring things, you can say something is 1/2 inches long, or you can say it is 2/4. They're both correct. Typically, people will say 1/2, but they both are technically correct. Now, the reason I showed you this in the number lines is look down here at this picture of the ruler. A ruler is essentially a number line, and this particular ruler, if you look at each unit, 0 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, you'll notice that they are divided into 4 equal parts. So this number line, even though it goes from 0 to 12, is divided into fourths because there are 4 equal parts between each whole number. All right, now before we start measuring things, let's practice writing fractional amounts that are over 1 whole, because we didn't really work on that in class. Technically, they're called mixed numbers. You'll learn that in 4th grade. You don't need to remember that. So let's start with a picture of something that you recognize. This is a picture of 1 whole and another whole. And the second one has 3 of the pieces colored in, and the first one has all the pieces colored in. So this is 1/4. Or sorry, not 1/4, this is 1 whole, and this one has 3/4 colored in. So in class we learned that this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7/4. But you can also write it like this. 1 whole and 3/4 is 1 and 3/4. So let's go down to our number lines. Here is a number line, and the unit is the distance from 0 to 1. So let's see how many pieces there are. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is divided into fourths. And this dot is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9/4 away from 0. Another way that we could say that is it's 1 two wholes, plus 1/4 away from 0. So it would be 2 and 1/4. And that's how we're going to write it for this lesson. How about this one? Look where the dot is. Yes, I know it's easy. It's on 3. But let's say we were writing the fractional amount. The distance between 0 and 1 is our unit, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4 equal parts. Okay, so let's count how many fourths there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 fourths. That's what we would have written in class, right? Well, we're going to write it with a whole and then the fractional parts. So this is 1, 2, 3 wholes away from 0. And then is it any further? Nope. So we would just write this as 3. Okay, now you'll see our number lines are starting to look a little more like rulers. Let's measure the length of this line here. Okay, again, we've got fourths. 1, 2, 3, 4 equal parts between 0 and 1. And this is 6/4 away, but we're not going to say it's 6/4 of an inch. That just sounds silly. That's not the way we usually say lengths. This is 1 whole and 2/4 away from 0. Okay, 1 and 2/4. Is there an easier way to say that though? Because do we really say 2/4 when we measure? Usually not. Now this is correct. If you wrote this on a test or on a worksheet, it is correct. But 2/4 is equivalent to 1/2. So we would probably say it's 1 and 1/2 inches long. Okay, so now we're going to start using what we learned about fractions on a number line, using what we've just learned about how to write these types of numbers, and we're going to apply it to measurement.